Welcome to ISRA League's Grand Touring Championship, brought to you by the Z1 SimWheel LCD display and LCD display software. You can find this software or the hardware box at z1simwheel.com and add all of these dashboards to your sim rig. And in addition, you can get some excellent telemetry display. And all of that, as I said, can be found at z1simwheel.com. It's incidentally also the prize for the Clean Driver Award, which will be awarded after this race, the final race of Season 8. This is number 10 at Laguna Seca. My name's Daniel Quaroni, and I'm here with Brian Carey.
Hey guys, glad to be back.
And Anthony Muniz.
Welcome back. Glad to look at this great championship battle we have.
That's right. We are looking at Russel Kao and Mike Kelly tied in the standings going into the last race. And let's see, so we've got also a battle through 4th through 6th, and finally a decent battle down at the end. So some points to go around and interesting fights to be had. In Cadillacs, not quite as close, but still some possibilities if Todd Carver can do something great, and maybe if James Cullen were out of the race for any reason, that could do it for Todd Carver, and we'll have to see how that championship goes. And likewise, down the ranks, there are a couple little pairings, so people will be fighting hard for those points. We're going to get the pace lap going in just a moment, and Brian will take us through the track map as it pops up in just a second. Here the pace lap has begun. The Daytona Prototypes are off.
Yeah, one of the few tracks I've actually been able to see in real life. Fantastic track. A lot of people don't like driving here because it is kind of difficult, but I find the location, the elevation change is fantastic. And Dirty Hairpin, one of the main passing opportunities there. Kind of a nothing corner for this track considering. All the way through turn 4. Turn 6 there at the top of the circuit, just before the Rahal straight, is probably the hardest corner on the track. It's blind. You really have to spot your apex. If you cut it too short, you'll hit one of those sawtooth curves and possibly damage your car. It runs up the long hill all the way up to turn 8, which is a corkscrew, one of the most iconic corners in American road racing. And then back down the hill from the corkscrew all the way back down to turn 11, another passing spot going onto the front straightaway, so look for a lot of action there.
And starting on pole, we have Russel Kao ahead of Mike Kelly by almost a second, and then Brian Carey and John Middleton on the second row, Jeremy Burris and Marty Jeffries on the third, John Rossettos and Chuck Chambliss on the fourth, Brent Briles and Gilles Moret on the fifth row in Daytona Prototypes.
And for the Cadillac class, James Cullen took the pole with Todd Carver just behind by 0.3 of a second. So a close battle there. Eduardo Benica and Lauren Bateman will be on the second row, with John Kuslin and Daniel Gralty taking the third row. Timothy Stoll and Ryan Huff on the fourth row, with Kenny Coughlin and Stephen Clark on the fifth row.
Yeah, I'm going to say we're going up turn the Rahal straightaway here up to the corkscrew, so you can see that corner just as we come to it. Dan, sorry, what was that?
Well, we'll have to see what the significance of that difference in the qualifying time is between Russel Kao and Mike Kelly, whether that's just a qualifying performance or if that's going to play out in the race.
Well, Mike Kelly always races better than he qualifies, and occasionally Russel Kao will post a freak time, so the variation between the times is pretty big, so we'll see. I mean, we're about a few seconds away from finding out, I guess.
And Russel Kao, as is his style, hits the gas just as soon as he gets around that final corner. It's across the start-finish, and the clock is ticking.
Still a good battle for third and fourth as Brian Carey and John Middleton continue their battle from the last race. Brian Carey able to take the third position. John Rossettos will move up a spot as looks like Marty Jeffries running wide, going to be battling with Chuck Chambliss as they head into turns 3 and 4. Marty Jeffries will take the spot.
I really do love, it's another iconic shot, is watching the cars head down out of turn 1, which is basically a kink in the straightaway, into the Dirty Hairpin, which is turn 2. Come over that crest there and down the hill. I mean, that is I know there's a lot of people in our series that don't necessarily like the track, but it is fantastic for me to watch here.
Nice pass there by Chuck Chambliss on Marty Jeffries into turn 5 as they head through turn 6 and up the hill into the corkscrew. Jump back a little bit on Timothy Stoll, who doesn't normally race this car.
He showed up with the wrong car somehow. I'm not sure what happened there. Took the wrong truck to the track, but he's having a good run here. He's out of the championship battle Daytona Prototype, and he's mixing it up with the Cadillacs, trying to battle with Ryan Huff here for 7th position.
And Daniel Quironi and Jules Moret continue their battle that we saw at Zolder, where Quironi was able to take the spot over Jules Moret. But right now it's Moret battling and defending against Quironi as they head into lap 2.
And unfortunately for 11th position this time and not 4th, but the race is early, so we'll see how that goes. And Todd Carver is in the lead in the Cadillac, so that's his first step in what he needs to do for a championship here. The next step is to have James implode and not finish the race. So check one box off and just wait for the second one and see what happens.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough race for Todd Carver. He needs to defend that first spot and just hope that something happens to James Cullen. Looks like Eduardo Benica looking, thought he might be able to challenge there. Got a little bit squirrely coming out of turn 3, kind of lost the run that he had on Cullen, but Cullen dropping a little bit back from Todd Carver.
James had made a little bit of a mistake there and lost some momentum here, but he'll get that back soon enough, and just judging by relative speeds over the season and qualifying, he'll slowly pull back up on Todd Carver and make that a battle, but Eduardo Benica is no slouch, and he'll probably hold on to James's tail as long as he can.
Timothy Stoll getting alongside Ryan Huff again as they head towards the corkscrew. He's a lot closer this time, although they make contact just before the corner. Both cars able to stop themselves from spinning. Timothy Stoll able to take the position.
That's part of the track too, where you can run too wide, but because of the elevation changes, sometimes if you don't do it just perfectly, it's really hard to judge exactly where that corner is on the outside. So sometimes contact's there, and I'm very impressed that they're able to get out of that. Looks like no damage to the car. It's just a little bit of a tank slapper there, and off they go. As Daniel Quironi is all over Gilles Moret like a cheap suit right now.
Yes, he had a very great run heading out into turn 1. Didn't really have anywhere to put his car. Gilles Moret defended the inside, and Quironi just had to take the outside, kind of scrub off all his speed. See, it looked like he had to put on the brakes in the mid-corner to avoid running to the back of Gilles Moret, so Quironi seems to have some pretty good pace, at least, over Gilles Moret.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of those tracks there where the qualifying was relatively tight, and there's not a lot of straightaways here either, but this track does produce some very, very good racing because there's a lot of corners that are difficult, like this one here, the corkscrew. You can make mistakes on and gain time on other drivers, but other corners you can gain a lot of time yourself by just sheer bravery and commitment going into those corners.
It looks like some sort of drama has happened. That is Daniel Giralty off the road at turn 5, and that allows Gerald Livingston to get by for 10th place. I'm not sure what happened to Daniel Giralty.
As there's only 11 cars in the race in the Cadillacs, and Daniel Giralty is in last place right now, so I assume his damage here is that Quironi here is going to make there's really not a lot you can do there because, I guess you can do that. And he almost followed him off the track too. That's what you say when there's someone ahead of you, you kind of base your braking off them, and Joe locked the front brakes up, and Dan had sympathy lock up or running wide, and was able to hold onto the track and hold on to 10th position.
And Livingston just pulling over for Giralty there.
Well, Livingston, he's trying to get the laps in there, and knowing that Dan, in a good car, normally laps a few seconds a lap faster than he does, so not trying to fight the issue too much, but I know Dan Giralty is one of the guys here that dislikes this track very much, so I think that's showing in his positioning right now. As I mentioned before, James has worked his way back up to be on the tail of Todd Carver again.
Of course, that's interesting as he is the one who controls where we go.
Ooh, and John Middleton getting out of... Wow, John Middleton getting out of shape coming out of the final corner. We saw that he was battling with Brian Carey very, very close, but he loses 2 positions. Looks like Jeremy Burris and John Rossettos will both go by. Also under pressure from Chuck Chambliss, and he'll lose another position, so that's 3 positions because he almost lost it coming out of turn 11.
Very happy that he was able to get that one off the wall there, because that could have ended his race. Had that tank slapper got another foot or so to the right.
And Ken Kaufman just slides right on by Stephen Clark on the inside.
Oh, and Burris, oh man, he spins it too.
Just the middle of the pack here in the Daytona Prototype, not having a good time. All right, Jeffrey's out forced to the inside, tank slapper there, and Burris is. Whoa, that's I don't even know what's happening
takes his
right
position.
Now. It's like cars are swapping paints if positions are chasing so fast.
When another car, John Rossetto's getting out of shape. Not nearly as bad as some of the other cars we've just watched. Manages to save it and maintain his position.
That's one of those corners that's turn 9. That's the first corner coming out of the corkscrew there, and I mean it's a blind apex as Burris is coming into the pits there. Obviously damaged a little bit, but it's one of those corners where you really got to spot your apex, and it's kind of difficult to do. So I think Burris and Jean must have got into each other.
Well, one other thing that we mentioned at Zolder was those speed bumps on the outsides of the corners. Here at Laguna Seca, there are these little red spots on the inside of the corners. There you can see one right there, which you're supposed to aim for when you're racing, but the Daytona Prototype seems particularly sensitive, and if you hit one of those too hard, it can damage your suspension quite a bit, just like at Zolder.
Yeah, basically what they're meant to do is to stop you from cutting the corner. So what that means you aim for is you want to look at that as your kind of your reference to the apex there and come right up against it, because if it's raised quite a bit higher than the inside of the corner there. Those corners, that's not too much of a problem, but the one problem that you'll find a lot of trouble is because it's such a difficult corner to spot is turn 6 in particular. I mean, you can really, so high speed, hard to see, and you can really crank it right there. So these corners here as they're going through turn 4, turn 5 coming up, a little easier to spot the apex drive through, so you're less likely to make a mistake there. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but you're less likely to do so.
And the battle of very intense between Todd Carver and James Cullen for the lead of the Cadillacs. Carver so far able to hold on to that first place position. We'll jump back into the Daytona Prototypes as John Middleton tries to fight his way back up the pack as he challenges Chuck Chambliss. Not quite able to put a move on, but he qualified up in 3rd or 4th, and he definitely seems to have the pace. Oh, and as James Cullen has a little close call there.
Yeah, that run going down to the first corner there, because turn 1 is kind of a kink there, so it's really hard to get positioning on the inside. It's a good defensive corner there for the driver ahead, just to kind of put his nose in there, as you can see just up ahead there, to kind of hug the inside line and then swing out or stay on the inside. So, look, Todd Carver is dropped right to the inside there. I don't know what's... did he cut the corner, or did he just get a bad run off the car? But it allowed James Cullen to go to the outside, and he might have the position.
I don't think he cut the corner. He looked like he took the turn 11 quite well, and he's able to defend and hold on to the position through turn 1 that allowed Lauren Bateman to put a challenge on James Cullen as they exited the corner. I'm not exactly sure what happened right there. I wonder if he just got a bit of oversteer, and that was the way that he corrected it.
Yeah, Lauren had a good run on James potentially there, but he just pinched his steering ever so slightly, which slowed his exit of the corner and wasn't able to get a run around the outside. So top 3 pretty close together, and Eduardo Benica there is right behind them, with John Kuzland not too far behind Benica. You can see him there just at the top of the screen.
Yeah, so right now, we haven't seen much of the leaders in Daytona Prototype. Russel Kao still leading. Brian Carey actually up in 2nd place, past Mike Kelly. There is about an 8.5 second gap separating those two drivers. As Tim McLeish runs wide in turn 1. He'll lose one spot there as he gets back on the circuit. Mike Kelly actually in 3rd place behind Brian Carey by about 1.3 seconds. So right now, the championship would go to Russel Kao if things stay as they are.
So James is, he knows for championship, he's good where he is. He wants to finish the race there, but at the same time, you're going for those race wins. So he'll exercise some patience behind Todd Carver, but he'll definitely snatch an opportunity if he gets it. Oh, John Middleton. Ooh. Oh, that is, wow. Chuck Chambliss has picked up another position there. He's up to 5th position. And he probably goes wide, but just a little bit there. On board with James Cullen as he's coming down. I believe this is turn 5. James right up against that red curtain. Now watch if you can stay on board here for a second here. There's turn 6 coming up. See if you can spot it. Oh my god, there it is. So, as you can see, they just cut away just as you're entering it, but basically you're right up on the corner before you can see where it is. So, it's really kind of sense memory and knowing where you're going and having faith that the track will be there when you get there. So, That's one of those corners you have to really pay careful of. And this corner here, the corkscrew there, you don't really get a sense for it. And honestly, on TV, it looks pretty steep until you're actually standing there and you realize that you're halfway through the corner and it's still about 30 feet above your head where it starts. So.
And here's the bet for second place. Brian Carey got a little bit wide out of turn 6. That allows Mike Kelly to get by into second place. So he's got a long 10 seconds to catch up to Russel Kao and fight for the what is essentially the championship for the Daytona Prototypes. And Eduardo Benica making a nice pass on Lauren Bateman into turn 1. That moves him up into third place for the Cadillacs.
Yeah, Lauren was right up in the tail of James Cullen there for a bit, but obviously through traffic and whatnot, he lost contact there, and Eduardo was able to take advantage of that. Now Daniel Coroni is all over Brent Bryles. This is the battle for 7th position right now. So Daniel Coroni is, after having a relatively poor qualifying by his standards, moving up the order. Still currently well down in the Commentator Cup, but we'll see how that pans out.
And Daniel Gralti trying to work his way back up the field after having an off coming out of, I believe it might be this corner right here, turn 5. He's able to get by Kenny Coughlin. As you see a couple Daytona Prototypes coming through. That is Mike Kelly there with Brian Carey just behind those two trying to fight his way and catch back up. We'll go to the battle for the lead now as James Cullen still trying to find a way across, or past rather, Todd Carver. But Carver seems to have pretty good pace and he's able to defend his position, but also James, like Brian pointed out earlier, James knows that he doesn't have to actually win this race to win the championship.
Basically all James is doing is trying to get to the end here. That being said, I think the positions, I'm not sure how far the points go, but I mean, as long as he doesn't crash out the first part of this race here, he should be alright. But you know what? Pushing up front, in a lot of cases too, it's trying to maintain your pace and having a battle with someone is the safest place to be, because when you're running by yourself, just trying to make up the laps, that's when your mind wanders and you start making mistakes. As John morphs through some of those plastic bollards there, as Chuck Chambliss goes wide, I think Chuck's still holding on to the outside there. I think Chuck, nope, he's got a positioning, but Chuck's got the inside. Let's see. Can't see him right now, but yeah, it looks like John Middleton has a position. That's 5th place.
That was a pretty good move there by John Middleton. He went side by side and was able to take the position in turn 3 on the outside, and I guess just Chuck Chambliss wasn't able to get the exit speed that he needed to stay side by side at the very least, or defend his position.
Oh, James Cullen looking to the inside there. Todd running around the outside there. Oh, and I think Todd must have had trouble getting the power down coming up that last corner, because that's what happened before. Now James is able to take advantage and takes the lead there. So and apparently I went in and out of the pits rather quickly, so I guess I must have just run wide on pit exit there and probably going around one. Tim McLeish, he's trying to run down, looks like Jerry Morsdorf. He's got the position.
Ooh.
Yeah, coming off turn 11 there, that corner just went out there. It's a tight corner, and you really have to roll the car through just right. Because if you get the power on in just the wrong place, it's really easy to kick the tail out. So, wait, it's like Mike Kelly in second place. He's right on Russel Kao's tail. That was a 10-second lead just a moment ago. What's going on?
Yeah, not exactly sure what happened there, but that gap has closed very, very quickly, and some sort of incident for Russel Kao has happened. Unfortunately, we missed it, but that's a battle for the championship right there, now only about half a second apart.
Yeah, Dan Gralti here. He's next on the list is Ryan Huff, and Ryan has run wide, so let's see if Dan's able to... Nope, nothing he can do right there. Going into the corkscrew, it is really a tough one to make a pass there, but sometimes you get such a good run that it is possible. But now he's going to run her through some of these sweepers heading down towards turn 11. Maybe see, depending on how run he gets here out of turn 10, this is turn 10 right now, You can get a decent run. You can go up the inside into turn 11, but at the same time, if he puts pressure on Ryan, get a good run coming out of turn 11 here. And Ryan ran over the curb. It looks like he got a pretty decent run, but Dan's, I don't think he's done enough here to get by cleanly. He can still make a pass going into turn 2, but sometimes you can get a great run out of turn 11 and really get a flyer coming out straight away here, and Dan wasn't quite there.
Well, he put some pressure on Ryan Huff going into turn 1, and Ryan Huff runs a little bit wide, but is able to maintain his speed through the corner and holds on to the position. I thought he might go a little bit too wide and clip the dirt there, but he holds on to the spot.
I think this is one of those matter of time deals because Dan Gualti is all over him right now. He's gone to the outside here. Ryan's going to have the advantage on the inside, but let's see how well Dan's able to hold the outside in this car, and I don't think it's going to happen here. Ryan's kind of gone defensive, but he's come back online here, and this is turn 6. This is the most difficult corner of the track, and Dan's got a great run coming off here, so I think he's actually got the position going through here. Ryan will have to concede it, it looks like. I mean, he won't have to, but it's going too right into the corkscrew there, and yep, there it is. Gualti for 7th.
And the battle between Brent Briles and Daniel Coroni is very, very close right now. I see Daniel Coroni right under the rear wing of Briles as they head down towards turn 1. Let's see if he forces... Oh, thought he might force Brent Briles to stay on the inside, defensive inside. Does go a little bit wide through the braking, but keeps a good exit speed, although he gets a little bit wide. Still no room for Coroni to be able to get by.
So we're just about 20 minutes into this race here, and action is heating up pretty much. The big battle here, and we're not seeing it right now, as we're looking at the battle for 7th position, is the battle for the lead right now. Russel Kao has pulled out a game to about a 1.5 second lead over Mike Kelly, but that was a 10-second lead before, and I think Russell may have gone over a curb and damaged the car a little bit. Not much, but it's allowed Mike to bring back, and this championship is wide open still. Russell Kao holding the minor advantage, but since they're tied right now, and it's winner take all here, whoever finishes ahead of the other driver wins the title.
And this is Lauren Bateman. Oh, and there is trouble between, who is that? John Middleton, I believe, in the Daytona Prototype, and
Todd Carver.
Yep, and that has championship implications. Todd Carver now being shown in 3rd place, but more importantly, quite a bit behind the leader. And that is not what Todd Carver wanted to happen. He was hoping that James Cullen would have some sort of issue, and that would allow him to score enough points to take the championship. But Todd Carver currently not quite as far back as I thought he would be. He's being shown about just over 6 seconds behind James Cullen right now.
Yeah, but at this point that lead's only going to increase. I don't think he's catching much of that back unless James runs into particular issues. So really what Todd needs to do is to maximize his points, because he's going to need something bad to happen to James, unfortunately. But Eduardo Benica just under a second ahead of the road, up the road here, as you can see him right there. Oh, but Eduardo hit the curb hard, so that might give Todd the chance to get a run up on him here. But that's his battle right now, Eduardo Benica. He's nothing you can do about James Cullen. That's up to James. It's nothing to do with Todd, unfortunately. But Todd can take care of Eduardo if he pushes hard and gets some luck here. And again, let's see if we have another metaphor. Dan is all over Brent like a like white on rice, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what the next one on the line will be.
And this battle has moved up a position somehow. Oh yes, because of John Middleton having an incident there at the last corner. So these guys are now fighting for 6th place in their class. And Coroni seems to be pretty competitive, although Brent Briles is doing a good job of defending that 6th spot.
One thing I found with this car too, and you know, Dan can comment on this as well, is I mean, I can do practice and I can run it in qualifying and get a relatively decent lap. I mean, I qualify, you know, in that, you know, 3rd to 8th range depending on the track, but it's really, once you get a good track, you get into a rhythm, the car really does come to you, and it's a very drivable car. It's not my ideal car, but it's one of those things where once you get into a racing situation, you really kind of find your groove and just able to let it run and move up from where you were. Oh, that's Grolty. He's slow.
No, that was Coroni. Yeah. And I'm assuming that must be suspension damage from one of the speed humps that are there on the apexes of a lot of these corners.
Unfortunately so.
And unfortunately, that settles the commentator's cup in my favor, I think, if he's not able to continue, so... It's not an actual thing, it's just something I made up a few minutes ago, but it sounded cool.
And this is the battle for the overall Daytona Prototypes, and that's now into the wall going down to turn 5. And yep, there is some damage on that car. I'm not sure how severe, and that car is crabbing quite badly. That is the championship right there, as long as Mike Kelly can finish.
Well, it actually doesn't even matter if Mike Kelly can finish, because unless Russel Kao, that car is not going any further. He is trying desperately hard to keep that car going, and I don't think he can even get it turned to the left. That is championship over. Mike Kelly, as soon as he crosses the line, essentially, and records this lap, I believe will be the championship winner. We'll see if Russell's able to get that car repaired. His only hope is to get back to the pits. Hopefully the car remains fixed and Mike Kelly suffers some absolutely terminal race-ending damage and he can beat him on laps, because that car is not competitive at all and will be nowhere close to finishing this race on the lead lap.
Wow, what a turn of events. Russel Kao now being shown in 6th place, but as we saw from the onboards, I can see this is probably the dirt trail that he's leaving behind, running in the all the sand and dirt that are on the circuit, and he'll be pulling into the pits right now trying to get some of that damage fixed. Coroni off the circuit into the final corner. The sand trap's unfortunately not doing a very good job of stopping him here in iRacing. Luckily able to keep it off of the tire wall right there. But he's gonna, looks like he's gonna lose a spot to Tim McLeish. He does indeed. Tim McLeish moves up into 7th, or 6th place rather, as he, or 5th place now, as he gets past Russel Kao and John Rossettos, who are both in the pit lane at the moment.
Look at Russel Kao. We'll monitor his time in the pits there and see what happens there. But checking the top left of your screen there, if you see a 63 out, that's where he's coming out of the pits. But it also could mean retirement, so we'll try to keep you updated on that. That is, to put it mildly, dramatic development, and that is a dramatic development, as Todd Carver, another one of our championship battles, seems like possibly the only remaining one, almost lost it there. He's able to hold on to the track, but he's done in 4th position right now, so he's not filling out his end of the bargain right now. With James Cullen in the lead, it's a viewpoint anyway, but Todd's really going to need that up there. Is Dan Gralty, I know who you are. It's Dan Coroni, who's in the booth with us right now. Is up ahead, and his car looks like it's damaged enough that it's not very easy to drive, as Jerry Mooresdorf is going to try to get that place from him right now.
Yeah, Todd Carver is going to need a lot of events to fall exactly right and in his favor for him to have a chance at winning the championship. First of all, James Cullen, as both Mooresdorf, who seemed to be running fairly well, also pulls into the pits. I think it's a bit early for him to make his scheduled pit stop, so he must be fighting some sort of suspension damage as well. But as we go on board with Todd Carver, he's going to need a lot of things to fall in his favor for him to have a shot at the championship. He's currently running in 4th place. He's about 10 seconds back from James Cullen, and James Cullen really only needs to score points for him to secure the championship. So really a lot of things have to happen for Todd Carver to be able to have a shot at winning the Cadillac championship.
Yeah, Russel Kao is still in the pits right now, so just keeping an eye on that. He's dropped down to 10th position officially, and I think everyone behind him at this point, I think John Middleton and Jeremy Burris are out of the race right now, so... As we're watching Todd, I mean, he's not far behind the, I mean, you can see Eduardo Benica up ahead there. Lauren Bateman's definitely up ahead of him. But looks like Todd is struggling a little bit with that car. I'm not sure if there's damage or if he's just been pushing a little too hard. The tires have heated up too much and gone off.
Yeah, he seemed to start out quite well, and then he had a few mistakes, particularly coming out of this corner. He'd had what I can only assume to be is some oversteer that he would have to would cause his car to jump over to the left-hand side so quickly and lose quite a bit of his exit speed. And really, I think now, I'm not sure. Like Brian said, he might have been pushing too hard trying to catch back up, and now his tires are, overheated and not giving him the optimal grip. You can see it looks like he's struggling to get through turn 2. And there is Russel Kao. He's exiting the pit lane, but still has some severe suspension damage, and it looks like he's going to pull over and retire.
Yep, championship decided, unfortunately. So Mike Kelly is the Season 8 Daytona Prototype Championship champion, I should say. That is quite an incredible result, because the speed advantage at the beginning of the year, Mike Kelly did start it out with the win, but Russel Kao was dominating qualifying, and some races was dominating, but Mike Kelly stuck it out, finished the races, and regardless of where he finishes right now, which is in the lead and going for the win here, but he has stuck it out for the entire season. His only did a partial Daytona Prototype season last year, started out in the Ford GT, and yeah, no, that's a very impressed by Mike's driving all year in that car. So, I mean, still a lot of racing left, and I'm still in the hunt there, only a few seconds behind him right now for the lead. But he is your Season 8 champion.
Yep, and Mike Kelly definitely had a solid, very solid race pace throughout the entire season. We saw it. I know I've pointed out before, but at Spa, where he qualified well down off of Russel Kao, but the race pace that he had was incredible, and he took the win there because of it. And I think he's really just been on top form the entire season and had solid finishing positions. I'm not sure if he finished every race. I think he probably did, but yeah, he's been a top contender, and definitely a dramatic way to finish a championship. Probably would be more exciting to see it go down to the last lap, but exciting nonetheless.
And with Stephen Clark we're on board with right now, that's morphing in and out of reality at the moment. There it goes, there's another twitch there. I'm not sure if I know I'd mentioned it previous races, but for those of our viewers who are watching and get a chance, watch the Philadelphia experiment and see what the terrible consequences of this sort of kind of warping in and out of, I guess in that case, time and space, but what could happen. So hopefully Stephen Clark stays with us right now and not into the side of one of these buildings here, for instance.
And I see that Todd Carver is now in the pit lane, and with 46 minutes left to go, that could be his scheduled pit stop.
Well, especially if the tires are going off, and well, it's Benica.
Oh,
Benica is going side. No, that's not the way you're supposed to be pointed. You'll turn that car around. That's a bit of a spin there as Quonio is going past him there. He got a little squirrely, but what I was saying before about Todd's car, like his tires going off, and the rear tires in particular, what happens is they're very temperature sensitive in this car, and if you start sliding the rear tires, they get hotter. And when they get hotter, they get less grip. When they get less grip, you slide them more, which causes them to get hotter. And it's just a repeating cycle that happens either end of the car, but front of the car you can kind of deal with a little bit more, but when the rear tires start going, you can't power the car off the corner. You have to be so gingery, you lose so much time, and I suspect that might have been what happened to Todd here. His setup was good over a couple laps, but over the race distance perhaps wasn't as didn't have the long-term staying power that some of these other guys might have had.
And I think part of that reason might be because James Cullen was sticking so close to him at the start of the race. He really had to try very hard and defend that first place position. And, you know, the harder that you have to push, the more likely you are to heat up those tires. And I think that that situation built up over time, and the result is that he's made small mistakes and unfortunately fallen down the field a little bit now.
This is Kenny Coughlin here. He's battling closely with Ryan Huff right now. This is for 6th position. Getting very, very squirrely going through turn 10 there. So again, a lot of guys don't know Ryan Huff is in the pits actually. So Kenny Coughlin is up to 6th position right now.
And Todd Carver is still in the pit lane. He can catch his car right there as Kenny Coughlin goes by. So he's obviously repairing some sort of damage.
He's 2 laps down right now. So you know what? I am going to say, I think based on where he is right now, that well, not officially clinched, but pretty much virtually so.
Yeah.
Unless the rest of the cars explode. James Cullen could be your Season 8 Cadillac champion. It seems more than likely right now because no one else is anywhere close to catching him. And in fact...
and that's Chuck Chambliss into the pit lane right now with some heavy damage, and that is very unfortunate. He was running in 5th place. Tim McLeish, however, because of Chuck's incident, moves up into 4th place, and I think this is the best that he's run so far this season.
My Southern Ontario colleagues there doing very well. Very good to see that for Tim. His car that really isn't as shiny as his steam whistle Ford GT paint scheme there. Oh no, Kenny Colley is off and spun backwards coming out of the corkscrew. It's going to be a tough one to turn around. He's going to lose some time here and hopefully doesn't get hit by anyone coming down there, but nope, looks like he's got going straight. No one's right behind him, so he's alright.
And Daniel Gralty moving up into 4th place past Eduardo Benaca, who is currently running in the pits. You can see John Kuzlin still on track. I don't think he has made his pit stop yet, so these guys are battling it out for position.
John Kuzlin, like I say, getting the best fuel mileage out of anyone here. I think if John were to buy a Toyota Prius, he would never ever have to stop for gas again. Although I would like to find out, I know this was done a long time ago, but on Top Gear they did do a test with the Toyota Prius driving around their test track, driven at full speed compared to a BMW driving at the Toyota Prius speed, which is nowhere near its full speed, but it got better mileage than Toyota Prius. So
yeah, but I think 4 miles per gallon or something like that.
Yes. So for those of you that have driven a hybrid car, I mean, that's obviously not the point of getting a hybrid car, to drive it flat out continuously, but at the same time, it's an interesting comparison to see that. Actually, I have noticed this too, because my father drove, I think it was his BMW 525 in particular that he got. I think it was like a 2005 or something like that, but just cruising down the highway got ridiculous fuel mileage. I mean, you're talking like 45 miles per gallon or something like that, which, I mean, you think is unheard of, but I mean, you keep those... I mean, they have the capability to be nice and powerful, but if you drive them well within their means, they're very efficient machines.
Yeah, and I frequently hear about Corvette owners getting 30 miles a gallon. It's all basically about keeping the engine in its optimal range, and as you pointed out, the high rev range is not where an engine is most efficient. You want to keep the revs nice and low, and so those big powerful engines can give you quite a bit of speed if you and still be very efficient by doing that.
Apparently there is a woman now in our commentary box. I'm guessing that's at Dan's place there.
Oh, can you hear that well?
Oh, that's clear as day. I assume that's Mrs. Coroni there in the background talking to someone on the telephone, but...
It is indeed.
Because if she was talking to you, Dan, you were not listening. I'll be honest, you were not listening at all.
No, what was she saying?
I'm honestly trying not to pay attention. Alright, well, that was a close call there.
Yeah.
Not sure what side of the track that you're to go on there. And that's another one of those things, too, when you're coming across those left, right, left corners there when a Daytona Prototype's coming up on a Cadillac. You kind of aim for this spot where the Cadillac isn't at that time, but sometimes you got to aim for this spot where it's not going to be. But I mean, that's kind of a 50-50 crapshoot sometimes, especially if you're coming at a high rate of speed. So luckily they both got out of that. But those are the kind of situations that can sometimes end in disaster for both drivers, as that is a red car.
Jared Livingston having a issue there going through turn 5 that allows Stephen Clark to get past and moves him up into 8th spot.
Actually, another 2 drivers there that are in my neck of the woods here in southwestern Ontario. Stephen actually in my current town of London, Ontario, and Gerald Livingston not too far from here in, I don't remember exactly where, I just know it's not too far from here. I think probably a cabin in the woods somewhere, but Gerald can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Actually, it's kind of good to see here because we don't get to see Gerald typically on these broadcasts for whatever reason, but he's having a good battle with Steven right now, so at least for the time being anyway, as we come back to Dan Gralti and John Kuzlin here. This is a battle for third position. Dan's really done well to come back from, he was last place in the early laps.
He was. Yeah, he's had a great recovery. He's currently running in 4th place and yet to make his pit stop, so he might drop a spot or two after he does make that pit stop. But he's really battled his way back. He's right on the back, well, basically on the back bumper of John Kuzlin as they head into the turn, I guess it'd be turn 2 corner because the kink is counted as turn 1. But Dan Gralti's... Yep, so he's had a great recovery race after falling all the way back and having to fight his way back up to the front.
Yep, yeah, no, actually, I think this might be John Kuzlin's home track. He can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think he's from this part of California, so, or close to anyways.
And really looks
like a rather big place.
Yeah. And it really looks like this is probably barring a problem from the front of the field. This is going to be the highest these two drivers will be in their class. Right now, John Kuzlin currently about 27 seconds behind second place Lauren Bateman. And you can see John Rossetto sneaks his way through there going into the corkscrew, and luckily all the drivers were able to get through there without an issue, but I'm sure it was probably a little bit of a surprise there for John Kuzlin as he's getting ready to make his turn in. But Daniel Gralti right under the rear wing. Looks like he's going to take a look on the inside. Didn't quite have it.
Yeah, it seems to me that the Cadillacs a lot of the times too, all the positions, like all the momentum gained or lost comes right off the corner there, because once they get up to speed or whatever, even with a draft or like under braking or whatever, there's not a lot of difference between the cars there. It seems like it's all mid-corner and immediately on the exit there that you'll notice a big speed difference between these two cars. Visually, for say the Daytona Prototype, sometimes you can see like gaps being made under braking or coming down the straightaway or whatnot. But Mike Kelly's into the pits. Whoa, that was a aggressive pit stop there.
And it looks like Brian Carey will go by, and that will give him a lap lead this race. He'll take the lead of the class, temporarily at least, until he makes his pit stop.
Yep, always a good feeling to sit at number 1 on the pit board there. Alright, yeah, no, John Kuzlin there in the CTC. It's a coast-to-coast racing machine. Lauren Bateman, his teammate's actually in second place, so coast-to-coast racing is 2-3 right now at Laguna Seca. I mean, we'll wait till the pit stops all shake out, but it's definitely looking positive for them. And Brent Briles is actually up to second place in the Daytona Prototype there, having not made his pit stop. So actually, we'll see how he comes out of the pits here, because the pit exit is shortcuts the circuit a little bit. And no, yeah, he does hold on to the position. Comes out right in front of Mike Kelly, actually.
This actually could be a bit of an advantage for yourself, Brian, because depending on the pace that Brent Briles does and if he holds up Mike Kelly at all. I guess now that I said that, he goes a little bit wide, and that allows Mike Kelly to get right through. But that could have allowed you to jump past Mike Kelly in the pit lane, depending on how much he got held up. Unfortunately, it didn't work out quite the way you wanted it.
I knew you'd retroactively jinx me like a month and a half later. I know that's what happened.
And the gap here between John Kuzlin and Daniel Gralti has grown just a little bit since the last time we looked. Both of these drivers still yet to make a pit stop, but they are currently running in 3rd and 4th place. And of course, Daniel Gralti making a great recovery run after being dead last in the class after having some sort of spin coming out of turn 5. So this is a pretty close battle, and probably one of the very few that are actually on track right now. Most of the drivers are split out quite a bit. Lauren Bateman currently in the pits for Cadillac, so these guys will be elevated up into 2nd and 3rd momentarily.
I like to bring back a segment, which I'm not sure if I've run this year. I remember running it last year. It's unnecessarily calling out another driver, and I'm going to call out Brent Briles for effectively ruining my race. So, Brent, if you're watching, thanks for nothing.
Lauren Bateman currently on the dyno in the pit lane, and he'll rejoin the race in fourth place, as Eduardo Benica is currently... Oh, never mind. I read that split time wrong. But so he'll rejoin in fifth place. Kenny Coughlin right now is about a minute behind Lauren Bateman. So the top guys in the class are somewhat close. These two guys will lose a couple spots after they make their pit stop. And Eduardo Benica and Lauren Bateman, that is currently a battle because both of those guys have made their pit stop this race. So unless they have some sort of drama on track, that will be a battle for fourth and fifth.
Alright, so we're obviously just past the halfway point right now, and we'll just wait for the pit stops on the other side to kind of settle themselves out. Just kind of looking through the field here, it looks like at Daytona Prototypes right now, it's kind of a 4 cars in the lead lap at the moment, and I think Jerry's made his pit stop, but that was kind of an early pit stop there himself, so Jerry Morsdorf in 5th position, 1 lap down. And then in the Cadillacs there, Ryan Huff is a lap down in 7th position, so it's only the top 6 right now in the lead lap. But we'll let pit stop shake themselves out and see how that kind of works out with about another 13 minutes, about 20 minutes to go, I think, before everything shakes itself out for the end of the race.
Yeah, right now, looks like Brian Carey has a 29.5 second lead over Mike Kelly in 2nd place. So I'm not exactly sure what the pit time is, but that could be very close when Brian Carey decides to make his pit stop.
Who knows, maybe I'll make the entire race on 1 tank of gas. Not happen, but let's try to create some drama here.
Yes, unfortunately, our championship battles have been decided already. Right now, Todd Carver is running... Ooh, Daniel Gralty getting a terrible run through turn 5, missing his braking point, getting onto the dirt, and losing a lot of time to John Kuzland. And unfortunately,
he's just trying a new line.
Yeah, I thought I'd check to see if it was a little bit faster, but unfortunately, it wasn't any faster for him, and he'll lose about 5 seconds. Well, 4 seconds or so to himself and John Kuzlin. We look at the current leader right now, Brian Carey, and his number 79 Libro Daytona Prototype. He's coming up on, I believe that is Lauren Bateman. And Carey currently leading by a fairly hefty margin, although he still has to make his pit stop.
Yeah, it's a very slick-looking car after the days of no paint schemes for the last couple of races.
It is, yes. It's a nice return to the good custom liveries that we have here, as Eduardo Benica actually has one that I haven't seen before, so that is a sharp-looking paint job that he is on that car. Currently running in 3rd place in it, and he is about 8 seconds off of John Kuzlin. But, of course, Kuzlin still has to make a pit stop as we take a look at Daniel Gralty, who is making his scheduled pit stop. And it has dropped him down to 5th place right now, and Kenny Coughlin is just going by right now, so he'll have a bit of work to do to try and see what he can do to climb back up the field.
Oh, on board Gerald Livingston right now. He's currently in 9th position there, and looks like he might grab Stephen Clark. Yep, he's in 8th position right now. He's got past Stephen Clark in the pits, so Livingston up to 8th position, having a very, very strong race for him. He's able to battle his way into the top 10, which is very good to see. And I think he might have gone off the track there just ahead as I was talking about that, so there is that. But yeah, no, he's still ahead of Stephen Clark there. So Stephen Clark in the Can-Am Crackers 92 machine, Gerald Livingston in the red-white 97. And there's our leader, James Cullen, coming up right behind them to put them another lap down. So they're currently 2 laps down at the moment.
Yes, James Cullen really has no reason to push that hard at all. He's got a almost 38-second gap. Ooh, as Stephen Clark goes wide going through turn 6. And luckily didn't keep sliding out into the tires there that are out there guarding the concrete barrier wall. But yeah, James Cullen close to 40 seconds in front of John Kuzlin, who has yet to pit, so that will come up to Eduardo Benica once Kuzlin decides to make his pit stop, and that will mean that there is about 45 seconds or so of a gap between 1st and 2nd in the Cadillac. So really not much battling going on right there. Oh, that's a little close right there for John Rossettos, and that allows Stephen Clark to get by Gerald Livingston through turn 11. And a little bit of traffic playing out there, and advantage for Stephen Clark.
Yeah, it was a tough one there. Is John had to try to pick a way past Stephen Clark, and Gerald had decided that he was going to go on the other side. So John's only option was to go down the middle, which ideally not the case, but they all made it work there. So I think John kind of scared himself a little bit. As you can tell, he kind of ran wide on braking in turn 11, but stayed on the track, kept the car pointing the right way, and continues on in 6th position right now. Now, keep in mind too that Brent, John, Gilles, myself, and well, unfortunately Dan's out of the race right now, but we're all kind of battling in the middle of the pack there. So John Rosettos, I think it was leading us in the points. I think he was in 4th position going into this race here. He's trying to stay as far up the field as possible to see if he can hold on to that 4th position.
And Rosetto's currently running in P6. 2 laps off the lead, so really not a whole lot of positions he can make up. There is one spot that he can make up Jerry Morsdorf, who's running in P5. There is a close to 18-second gap between those two guys, and they have made their pit stops, so that won't play out in any way. But Brian Carey still has yet to pit, and there's currently about 28 seconds separating himself and Mike Kelly. So that gap's come down just a little bit in the last couple laps. Someone has run wide in turn 5, or turn 6 rather, and that's Eduardo Benica, and that allows Lauren Bateman to get past.
That's sort of the podium position right there.
It is indeed, and judging by the gaps, this will turn into a battle for 2nd and 3rd place in the class, and there is John Kuzlin. So indeed, once Bateman and Benica cross the timing line, they'll be fighting it out for 2nd and 3rd.
Yep, John Kuzlin is our gold standard for fuel mileage now, so once his pit stop is done, we'll know that that was the last pit stop, because no one pits later than John Kuzlin. And we will be able to run down the Cadillac order, and I think, if I recall correctly, I may have been the last, or a group of the last Daytona Prototypes to pit, so look for my pit stop as well. And actually just kind of speak about that, you know, trying to stay away from commenting on myself here in these races, but as far as the pit strategy of thinking there, Mike Kelly, and I know this from all the races we've done, is he tends to pit right at half, so he figures out how much fuel you need, takes half for the first half of the race, half for the second half of the race, and overall it's faster, I think, for you to do that. I tend to fill my car up at the beginning of the race. Ooh, Jill Brett, very close there. But fill the car up at the beginning of the race there, because I try not to be as aggressive at the beginning of the race, partly because of the big group of cars there, my computer's not quite up to handling the frame rate, and I don't want to be racing side by side with a ton of people with my computer not working at its best. But also, too, it kind of lets me get into the race there, and by the time I find my rhythm, Benica.
Sorry, Brian. Benica having an issue there coming out of turn 6. He got his tires basically stuck in the dirt. Luckily, able to save it, although he almost spins it going through the corkscrew. A good save there. That was a great bit of drifting going through the corkscrew, although unfortunately that probably heats up his tires a little bit. Hopefully that won't hurt his times too much.
Who cares? That was fantastic. That was good stuff right there. In the dirt all the way up the hill through turn 7 and turn 8, sideways to the corkscrew, holding on the track. He'll have to let Mike Kelly by now, but all that, he's still within about 2 seconds of Lauren Bateman, and probably a little closer than that when Lauren has to let Mike Kelly by. But wow, that was hats off to Eduardo there. That just kind of brightened my day there. That was a good, very intense bit of driving. That was Ken Block style. That was not necessarily fast, but definitely cool to watch.
Yeah, good to get a little bit of excitement now that everything has pretty much settled down for the remainder of the 25 minutes in the race.
Yep, okay, and just to finish my point there, but the fuel strategy is go for as long as possible on the fuel stop, knowing that at the end I'll get fresh tires and a low amount of fuel, so once I've got, you know, a feel for the car and a feel for the race, I can push the hardest on a lower amount of fuel. Possibly not the fastest, but at least for me anyways, it's the safest to get to the end of the race. As up on the screen there, I'm into the pits, so this is, once it comes out, we'll run down both orders, because that should be the order to the finish, or at least without pit stops anyways.
Evan, it looks like there was about 27 seconds or so when you entered the pit lane, and the gap doesn't quite update, I guess, live, so we'll have to wait and see once you actually exit what the gap is, because it's still showing about 26 seconds. So actually, it's going to be pretty close, I think. There might be, my guess would be there's a couple seconds there between yourself and Mike Kelly, who will regain the lead. But we shall see. Yep. Oh, Mike Kelly will regain the lead right about now, it looks like. And you're still being shown in the pits there. You are exiting right now. So their current gap shows 8.5 seconds, which is a bit more, actually, and it looks like it's growing. So it's a bit more than I thought it would be, unfortunately. And unless there's a bit of a mistake from Mike Kelly, might not have a battle for the lead of the Daytona Prototypes like I was hoping for.
Oh no, that's Stephen Clark. He's back on. Whoa, that was right in front of Benacar, who's like, it's like, that's how you go drifting? I'll show you how to go drifting if Stephen Clark's able to fall behind him. But, he kept it pointed off the wall, so that's good.
Yep, but now Gerald Livingston will take the spot back from him. So these guys have been jumping back and forth and swapping positions between each other. So we'll see if Stephen Clark can catch back up and put another, get by Gerald Livingston in some way. Go on board with Benica, currently running in 3rd place after that crazy, awesome Ken Block style driving through the corkscrew and all of that. Currently about close to 2 seconds behind Lauren Bateman for 2nd place. You can see him just up there heading through turn 11. So this battle is far from over. It's still 22, well, close to 23 minutes left in the race.
I love that camera shot there. That's one of my favorite in the circuit. Like I say, when I'm being here live, that's one of the good camera vantage points there. You can actually stand up on the hill there. There's a road that goes up on top there, kind of the hill around the Andretti hairpin that you can watch from. And also occasionally you'll see a shot going through the corkscrew there on the outside of the fence where you can stand. You'll catch them at the top of the corkscrew and you can actually watch them pretty much all the way down to turn 11. Because actually this track, one of the best parts about this track is it kind of goes around a big hill. There's a big hill in the middle there. So if you get up to the top of the hill, you can probably see about 80% of the track, which is, I know it's not, I don't get a chance to go to a lot of natural road courses in the US, this being one of them, but I've had nothing but positive experience from my my time here when I was back in '98 for the kart race.
And we actually have Benica closing the gap a bit between himself and Bateman. Just about 1.3 seconds separating these two drivers right now as Lauren Bateman gets a little bit wide through turn 11. Doesn't seem to hurt his speed all that much as they head down across the timing line and down towards the Andretti hairpin. But hopefully he'll be able to close his gap and we can then see some close racing.
All right, we got Brent Briles in the pits right now, but I think that's his regular stop, so he pitted after me, which was... yes, that's the last of them there. So in Daytona Prototype right now, we've got Mike Kelly about 9 seconds ahead of Brian Carey. Brent Briles coming out of the pits in 3rd, but he is well ahead of Tim McLeish, who's in 4th position. Jerry Morsdorf in 5th, Rossetto in 6th, Jean Moret in 7th, and Chuck Chambliss is 18 laps down, so he's out of the race right now in 8th. And Cadillac's James Cullen is about 50 seconds ahead of Lauren Bateman. So
he's actually in the pits right now.
Oh, okay, well, I guess he'd run, that's the latest anyone had run, so he drove Kuzlin there, so we'll just wait for that to kind of shake out before I go over the Cadillac order.
And Gerald Livingston actually pulling into the pits. I'm not sure if he's already made a pit stop. I know somebody made a stop very early in the race, and maybe he's not gonna, maybe he was one of them and he's not gonna quite have enough fuel to make it to the end.
Alright, well, there's a... Oh, there's... Ooh. Wow. Actually, you know what I think is going on there, too, is I'm just thinking about this, not to kind of downplay Eduardo's driving here, but Eduardo is coming from Brazil, and I know some of their ping, their latency, I guess, for their connection is a little higher, so any slide on our screens do get magnified a little bit in their intensity. It doesn't mean he's not sliding, it just means he's maybe not necessarily actually throwing up that much smoke. Still looks very spectacular, though. Just the Brazilian style, I guess. And Rosetto's trying very hard to get by Lauren Bateman here, but he's battling hard with Eduardo Benica, so he's not as willing to give up the position as he normally would, but Rosetto's is going to get by anyways.
Yeah, and Rosales just seemed to be have his car in the wrong spot to actually get by. You see he was able to do it there going around the outside, and it looks like Lauren Bateman lost quite a bit of time there because of that. It's a little bit of tire smoke going through turn 6, but the gap between himself and Benica is, you know, down to almost nothing now as they head into the corkscrew.
These guys are good to the end, so we'll see how this pans out. But I mean, it's going to be you got 19 minutes left, so I mean, any pass made now, still a lot can happen. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just latency because he's holding a pretty good line considering the amount of slide that he's getting mid corner there, and very, very odd slip angles as well. So normally you wouldn't go through the corner even if drifting at some of these angles. That said, I mean, he is pushing hard. He's trying to run down Lauren Bateman and get that one more position closer to the podium. And actually, Lauren's only about 10 seconds behind James Cullen, so Cadillac order. James Cullen, 10-second lead over this battle. Lauren Bateman in second, Eduardo Benica in third. Fourth place is John Kuzlin, a further 34 seconds behind this, with Dan Gralty in fifth position, and they're 5 seconds behind John Kuzlin there. So those mistakes he made before the pit stops came about have he's not been able to catch those back, and he remains about 4 or 5 seconds behind John Kuzlin.
Yeah, the gap to first and second in the Cadillacs is a bit closer than I thought it would be. Currently under 10 seconds now, separating James Cullen and Lauren Bateman. Of course, Cullen does not need to win. He just basically needs to finish now with Todd Carver retiring from the race. This is a pretty close battle here for second and third, though. And it'd be interesting to see how it shapes out. Looks like Benica is probably pushing pretty hard. He was pretty close at one point. See, getting a bit of oversteer coming out of the corkscrew.
Taking a quick water break right now after we've done a couple commentaries back to back here, so my voice is starting to feel a strain here with 17 minutes left in our commentary doubleheader, but these races were actually a week apart, so some random noises in the background there. I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, that Eduardo's car is pretty sweet.
It is, and I'm glad we're able to see quite a bit of it this race. He's had some close battle. He's running this a little wide there, coming out of the corner, but he seems to be catching and then under braking, and then maybe not quite as well off the corner as Lauren Bateman is.
Are you still there, Dan?
Yep, I'm here.
Ooh.
Alright, so that was just Dan there in the background, but that's alright. So back to the battle here for second place.
Let's see if he's able to pull right up to him under braking here going into the corkscrew. Oh, he did gain some time, but not quite as much as I thought. But then you can see Lauren Bateman really getting a nice run coming off the corner as they head through turns 9 and then into 10. And it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm not sure if how hard, because Brian Point, he gets very close there under braking into the final corner, and Lauren Bateman cuts a bit of the corner there. I'm not sure if that, no, it doesn't look, I thought it might give him a black flag corner time penalty, whatever you want to call it, for that little bit of a cut, but luckily he didn't. Probably just compromised his exit speed a little bit, but Benica looks like he's on a push, and he's able to close the gap quite a bit.
We got just over 15 minutes left, so and a lot of time for this battle here. I'm just going to look through the order right now, and this is by far the closest battle. Right now, Dan Gralty's actually got his gap to John Kuzlin down to just about 2 seconds right now, just under 2.5 actually. So we can look for that in the near future. Other than that, I don't see anything closer than about 8 seconds or so. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, there's about 9.5 seconds separating Brian Carey from Mike Kelly, first and second in the Daytona Prototype, so that isn't really much of a battle, and that gap has been pretty stable throughout the second stint that both of those drivers have running after Brian made his pit stop. The gap with Cullen and Lauren Bateman, who we see on screen right now for first and second in the Cadillacs.
Identical.
What's that?
Oh, just saying, I was just looking at it right now on the screen here. Between both the leads, they look like they're basically identical in some cases. Just about 10 seconds, between 9.5 and 10 seconds, are both James Cullen to Lauren Bateman and Mike Kelly to myself.
Yeah, actually, very, very close. And but unfortunately, the gaps to third place are actually probably fortunately, as Banica gets a massive amount of oversteer coming out of the Andretti hairpin, loses a good half a second or more because of that to Lauren Bateman. But yeah, unfortunately for you, probably the Brent Briles is a good minute and 5 seconds back from you in third place. But the battle for second and third in the Cadillacs is still fairly close.
Oh, it looks like I'm about 18 seconds back right now.
Indeed you are, yep.
You're 18 back from Mike Kelly, but Briles is over a minute back from you.
Yeah, it was just a few seconds ago. I was 10 seconds back, and honestly, I don't remember what I did.
Well,
actually, I look at the tire marks there. I think that's exactly what I did. I think I spun there at the top of the corkscrew.
Yep, and your second place position looks like it's pretty much locked out as long as you are able to actually take the checkered flag at the end of 13 more minutes. But this position for second place still not quite decided. Looks like Lauren Bateman probably not having to push quite as hard as Banica is. Banica right now about 2 seconds back, so he's dropped a little bit more, about another half a second or so after his fairly sizable oversteer that he got coming out of, I believe it was turn 2, this corner right here. So he may have heated those rear tires up a little bit because of that, and going to have to back off just a little bit, not push quite as hard, try and get those to cool back down into a more optimal operating temperature. But hopefully he's able to close the 2 seconds separating himself from Lauren Bateman with the 12 minutes that we have left in the race. Also, the gap between John Cullen and Daniel Gralti, who was having a pretty close battle before pit stops occurred, and who was fairly close just a lap or two ago, that gap has grown to about 12 seconds. So Gralti having some sort of drama on the track and losing about 10 seconds to John Cullen. So that battle, unless there's a incident with John Cullen, most likely going to be decided.
Eduardo is really driving hard right now to catch up to Lauren, but I mean, he looks like he is faster, but I don't know if he's that much faster. So I mean, he's going to have to hope for a mistake from Bateman to make up that place. But he's definitely putting himself, or trying to keep himself in a position to take advantage of a mistake. So
yeah, he's managed to take a couple of tenths off of the gap separating the two, and definitely see that he's pushing very, very hard. At least from what we can see, he runs a little bit wide there coming out of turn 3, and almost sliding the rear. Like Brian pointed out, we're not exactly sure how much of that is actual, drifting or whatever through the corners because of the latency of him being in Brazil. You see there's a little bit more oversteer and nearly losing the car there on the exit of turn 5, but he definitely, from what we can tell, looks like he's really, really pushing the car very hard, trying to close that gap still. And it's opened up to about 2 seconds right now. So Bateman seems to be able to secure the place, at the moment at least.
Actually, what that means to the layman out there, too, is anytime you see the car doing weird things on the screen like that, is it means Eduardo is able to do stuff with the car that the iRacing prediction software doesn't necessarily anticipate him doing. Well, that time he hit the curb there, so that was one thing, but I mean, that's how you can tell how hard he's actually pushing this car here, because the prediction software will tell you what the car should be going based on the best information they have from his inputs, steering and whatnot. But at the same time, if he's able to outdrive that, you're going to see it do some strange things the more the latency kicks in.
And because of I believe the servers are on the east coast of the United States, so it's not as bad as if, say, you were in Australia or something trying to connect to that server and all of that. The latency isn't nearly as bad as that, but Brazil is still a decent distance away from the servers hosted on the east coast of the U.S. So, depending on a lot of different factors, the latency can even fluctuate more or less in the race server. So sometimes you're fighting not only a car that can be difficult at times to drive, like this Cadillac is, you can see a little bit more oversteer there coming out of turn 5, but also increasing latency, which if you're in traffic can be a nightmare because you're not exactly sure where every car is. I mean, the software can only do so much to predict where the cars are, but the more lag that you have in the system, the more imprecise it gets.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot of drivers talk about netcode, and normally when you're talking about netcode, as far as that means, you've run into someone in a way that you don't think you should have, where you'll be driving, you know, several feet beside someone or behind someone and bump into them, either cause a spin or cause damage, which otherwise shouldn't have been the case, but it's just the netcode, as you will, trying to catch up and doing something it shouldn't have done. It's not perfect, but I'll assure you, after having been a online racer since about '98, it's grown leaps and bounds since then.
You see Kenny Coughlin there running wide, going through the Andretti hairpin to allow Benica to get by without losing too much speed. Gap is still holding steady at about 2 seconds between himself and Bateman, so a couple laps have passed. Oh man, he gets even more out of shape coming out of turn 3.
Well, that was an actual issue.
Yeah, luckily manages to save it, but that's going to drop him about another second or so. You can see that looks like Mike Kelly making his way through. Yep, so that's race leader right there, making his way through this battle. And the gap between Bateman and Benica now close to 2 or 4 seconds rather. So unfortunately, Benica pushed a little bit too hard there and lost more time.
Well, it looks like we get a chance to see our Daytona Prototype champion. It's been a while since we'd seen him, since his battles early on. He'd been out in the lead for the most part, so but we'll get to follow him around the track here as he works his way through some of the slower traffic. And slower traffic being Lauren Bateman, who is now about 3.5 ahead of oh geez, Eduardo Benica. Forgot already. Yeah, like you say, Lauren's not really all that willing to give up this position there. He's trying to keep his lead over Eduardo. But Mike, at the same time, too, definitely has a faster car, so he wants to clear him because you don't want to be stuck behind a slower class car because there's still a lot of race left.
Yeah, the Daytona prototypes are pretty much decided. I mean, there's 20 seconds separating Mike Kelly and Brian Carey, and then about 1 minute separating Carey from Briles in third place. Over a lap separating Briles and Tim McLeish running in fourth, who McLeish having a great race. This is, as far as I can remember, this is his best race of the season, so congratulations on a solid 4th place position, just as long as there's no commentator curse and he crashes out within these last 6 minutes. So a great position there. And then, what is it? 11 seconds or so, but separating Morrisdorf and Tim McLeish. So I guess that could turn into a battle, but unlikely. Most likely it's going to be here. Benica, who is still pushing very hard, trying to catch back up. Gap down a little bit, 3.2 seconds, so he's taking a little bit of time off. But with only 6 minutes left in the race, it's going to be pretty tough for him to be able to take that second place position away from Lauren Bateman.
Watching Mike Kelly just reel off laps here, but we go back to on board with Eduardo. Gap about 3 seconds, so 5 minutes left. I mean, it's definitely possible, depending on anything can happen still, but on pure pace-wise, he's not going to do it himself. He'll need some help from traffic or Lauren or whatnot. He's not going to find that speed all on his own.
Yeah, and quite a few retirements of this race, actually, so there isn't a lot of traffic out there that would play a part in this. And because everyone is so separated, with the exception of these 2 drivers here, most people are going to just pull out of the way and get allow these guys through so they're not holding up their battle. So really it's going to take a mistake from Lauren Bateman to allow Benica to catch back up. I mean, Bateman's been pretty good about maintaining the gap between himself and Benica. So really, he really needs a mistake if he wants to get past.
So it's like our classic before James Cullen, Mark Payne sort of things where they dominated all the camera time. Now it's Lauren Bateman and Eduardo here. And to be fair, Lauren and Eduardo are part of that occasionally too with James in some races this season. But James, even though he's got the championship, decided not to hog the camera this race.
Yeah, actually, some of these guys were one of the few drivers that were able to take a fight to James Cullen. I think Eduardo Benica especially was able to put a lot of pressure on James Cullen in some of these races, and Lauren Bateman to an extent as well was right up there fighting for the top spots as they are right now. So both of these drivers were able to get a good amount of screen time and gave us some fun battles to watch.
I actually want to point out too that one of our, well, actually the ISRA admin right now, Colin McLean, was right up there in the Cadillac battle. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make the last 3 or 4 races or something like that. So right up until when he was still driving, he was right up there with James in the championship battle. I don't know if they've had any direct on-track battles, but he maintained consistently right up there in the top 3 all the races he was able to run. So. Can't forget about Colin there. I mean, almost did there with 3 minutes left in the season, but he did have a good run up until. I mean, we do have regular lives that we lead. We're not full-time sim racers, so sometimes certain life events get in the way. But I think Colin should be back for next season of ISRA. I believe Driving the Radical signed up for season 9.
Yep, and I actually think there might be a couple open spots left in, I know the Ford GT, I believe, has a open grid spot or 2, and possibly the HPD as well. So go ahead and if you're interested in racing in the next GTC season, we've already had our first race, the 2-hour endurance race at Spa. But there's still plenty of races left that you can be a part of, so head on over to israleague.com, see what grid positions are still available that you can sign up for, and join us for some fun racing.
And even if you even can't commit right now, I mean, if you want to drive Radical or Ford GT, you can still sign up for our Fill the Grid feature. It's actually a good way to get indoctrinated into the series there without having to commit to a full season schedule. Go to the forums, check it out, join us in a practice, and sign up for Fill the Grid. And that way, if there's any spots available, as like I mentioned, not everyone can make every race. You might get a chance to get a few ISRA League races in there to kind of, wet your whistle, if you will.
Alright, well, with only a couple laps left in the race, there's still 3 seconds separating Lauren Bateman and Eduardo Benica as we jump on from the rear view camera and then quickly on board with Benica as he tries to chase down Bateman with a couple laps left in the race. Like I said, 3 seconds still separating these two drivers, so unless there's a pretty severe spin from Lauren Bateman, I'm guessing these two guys are going to finish in this order. Although I see number 42, Jerry Morsdorf, into the pit lane right now with only probably a couple laps left for him. And I wonder if he's out of fuel or almost out of fuel and not going to be able to make it.
Look for John Rosettos because he's pretty close to him on the track right now. Blue and white car on the track, so you can see. There it is. That's the position right there. That's 5th position.
Oh, and he overshoots his pit box as well, so it's going to cost him even more time. I'm not sure if that's going to... No, there's a white flag. Jules Moret is still running, but he is a fair distance behind Jerry Morsdorf, so I don't think he'll be in danger of losing that position.
Yeah, just missing the pit box there, more embarrassing than anything. Didn't really cost him all that much. 41, that's Ryan Huff. Oh no, he just... when you cut across the pit entrance there, actually going through the corner that Eduardo is right now along the exit, you run just a little bit wide, you'll trip our pit exit, or pit entrance, ticker there. But Mike Kelly, I think he's only got a few corners left. I think he's just right behind this battle here. So one more lap for these guys. One more lap for Eduardo to try to take that position away from Lauren Bateman, but he's 2 seconds behind, and I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah, well, he's cut 0.8 of a second off in that last lap, but, still 2 seconds is a long way to do it in one lap and then find a way to get past. So I still think Lauren Bateman is pretty safe at the moment.
Alright, so look for our champion, Mike Kelly, to be coming across the line any second now. I don't know if we'll cut over to him or not, but you'll see, at least see his number 2 pop over there on the left-hand side on our final race sticker. There's Gilles Moret coming across the line, and
that should be the end of his race just because of, I believe he's a lap or 2 down. And there's Mike Kelly, GTC Daytona Prototype champion for this season. Well done.
That's John Kuzlin there. That's going to seal 4th position up for him in the Cadillacs. Not coming up on our screen yet because just drivers in the same lap here. We'll kind of keep you up to date as guys come across the line there. There's myself and Brent.
Yep. And Brian Carey finishing 20 seconds behind. And there is the other champion, James Cullen, crossing the finish line. And he had still maintained about 9 seconds in front of Lauren Bateman and Eduardo Benica as they crossed the line right there for 2nd and 3rd.
And from the wiggling of his car, I'd say he looked pretty pleased by the result.
Actually, and I'm pretty pleased because I believe also James Cullen is your Season 8 Clean Driver Award winner as well. So double bonus for him there. He gets to walk away with the Z1 SimWheel LCD display. So congratulations, James, and thank you very much to Russell Hodgson and Z1SimWheel.com for sponsoring this event as Dan runs down the championship decider. There's the final.
Well, as we said quite a while back when Russel Kao exited, Mike Kelly is our winner. We've got Russel Kao 2nd, Timothy Stoll 3rd, James Cullen 4th, Brent Browse 5th, Brian Carey 6th, Jared Morrisdor 7th, Daniel Horney 8th, Gilles Moret 9th, and John Middleton rounding the top 10. In Cadillacs, James Cullen ends up with a pretty commanding lead over Todd Carver. Congratulations, James. Then Lauren Bateman 3rd. Cullen, despite his missed races, takes the 4th position. Daniel Gralty 5th, John Glusen was 6th, Ryan Huff 7th, Kenny Coughlin 8th, Eduardo Benica 9th, and who was 10th?
Someone was, I'm sure.
I apologize, I wasn't fast enough to get the person rounding out the 10th spot, but that will finish it up for Season 8. Well, we are back to 3-car multi-class for Season 9, and as mentioned, we've already started that, so look for those videos to show up pretty quickly. The cars running, again, are the HPD, the season schedule showing you that we're all done. The HPD, the Radical SR8, which I think is the first time we've run it, at least in GTC, and back with the 4GT. There might be a surprise with the 4GT later on. I don't remember what the call was on that, so I'll try to keep you posted as I find out more. So, as I said, stay tuned for those races. The broadcast will be out soon. I think there should be a whole lot of fun. We will, of course, start with our Enduro at Spa. Alright guys, reflections on the season?
Oh, it was a great season. I mean, it's kind of be sad and bittersweet to see the end of the Daytona Prototype and the Cadillac, but we've run them for 2 straight seasons, so looking forward to Season 9 and mixing up the ISRA game with 3 classes and 3 different cars.
Yeah, we saw some great racing between these 2 classes, and it was really great to take the championship battles to the last race, specifically in the Daytona Prototype. Unfortunately, it ended a little bit sooner than we would have liked to see, but still some great action from these classes, and looking forward to the next season as well.
Well, thanks always to Anthony Muniz and Brian Carey for announcing here with me, to Z1 SimWheel, our most excellent sponsor, and of course to the admins and the racers here at ISRA who make this all possible. We will see you again real soon. Have a good night.